Rhodesian nationalist leader Bishop Abel Muzorewa has accepted Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate an internal settlement based on one man, one vote. But, he says, there are conditions. These include stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war, allowing Bureau to take part in negotiations, being arrested. In Australia, Mr. Kerry Packer's cricketers are still pleased about yesterday's High Court decision, which lifts the ban on them playing test matches.
This is the voice of Allah, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now, we say the same as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on other worlds around you. This is in order that you may share in the great awakening as the planet passes into a new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only your rulers are made aware of the new forces that can overshadow their judgments. Be still now, and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are a part may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution, if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this, and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. You are free to accept the protected teachings
this
only those who learn to live
Many go as wide as this. Then they run out.
spiritual evolution. Hear now the voice of Rilon, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. Be aware also that there are many false prophets and guides at present operating on your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends, giving you worthless dross in return. But your divine self will protect you from this. You must learn to be sensitive to the voice within that can tell you what is true and what is learn to listen to the voice of truth which is within you.
It's such a
Lead yourself. This is our message.
I really appreciate understand that we can't live. I insist so delicious, full of only really choice ingredients. I can
Cats have 9 lives.
well, that's
Have no fear. Keep on to know yourself and discover with the race of your planet Earth. The Ashtar Galactic Command thanks you for your attention. We are now leaving the planes of your existence. May you be blessed by the supreme love and truth of goodness.
use your imagination. Suppose you.
We understand that viewers in some parts of the region are receiving a breakthrough in sound. We're sorry about this, and we're doing our best to rectify the fault.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Do you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. How you
Great.
doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
Excited.
Yeah, me
Let
too.
me
I'm
just
very.
see.
Go ahead.
Let me just see if I can record.
Okay,
So you need
I'm
to.
recording on my end as well. If you do want a copy of this, I can send you a copy of it.
I think we can both record. So I sent you a
Okay.
request to
Yep.
let me record.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we've been in touch for a few weeks now, back and forth. Really excited to talk to you because I've always been really interested in like remote viewing, and I remember I saw you a while ago on somebody else's channel, and so I knew I wanted to reach out to you so we could try to connect and possibly have a session, and which you did, which I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah.
But before we get started, if you could maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into remote viewing, and if you can kind of explain to people that don't really know what that is, what remote viewing is.
All right. So hello, I'm Anita Ikonen. I'm from Sweden, and I'm currently 43 years old. So remote viewing, how I got into it and what it is. I've always been a little bit interested in spiritual new age kind of things. And before I got into remote viewing, I was doing something that I think we would call channeling. So I would pick a target, such as ancient Egypt, and I would just kind of wish I could go there and look around and kind of just imagining as if I were there and just getting lost in this daydream. And for one reason or another, I would see things and sense things. So I was doing things like this before, and oddly, I was noticing that these daydreams, these channelings were oddly accurate. However, suddenly one day I came across a YouTube video where Naeem Malcolm, one of my favorite remote viewers, was doing a remote viewing. Now, remote viewing is different from just daydreaming and channeling because a remote viewer follows a strict scientific protocol where we don't actually know where we're going until afterwards. So we cannot be imagining things. We don't even know where we're sent to go. So the way remote viewing works, different from anything else in the spiritual or new age, is we have a blind target. Let's say the target is the Egyptian pyramids. I don't know what the target is. I just get a random target number. So somebody else, usually somebody else, will be a tasker. And that other person, the tasker, chooses what the target is and creates a random number, maybe with a random number generator. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only gives this number to the remote viewer and doesn't give any clues and doesn't say what the target is. The remote viewer then will have this number either written on a paper or on the computer screen and uses a remote viewing method in order to connect with a target signal, which gives them all kinds of impressions into their mind. So you're looking at a blank screen with random numbers, and you start to see things blurry at first. You start to feel things, you start to know things, smell things, touch things, hear things. And with the remote viewing method, you probe closer on these vague and blurry, weak initial impressions until they become clearer and clearer. And eventually, if you're good at it, you can draw the target and you can describe the target. After the remote viewer is finished, then they find out what the target was. They can no longer add any text or drawings. They can no longer edit anything. They hand in their data, their report, to the tasker, and the tasker now reveals the target feedback. Your target was Egyptian pyramids or whatever. So it might be a bit confusing at first, but it kind of deals with time not being linear. Somehow there's a part of our mind, remote viewers call it the subconscious, the unconscious part of us, that there's more to our mind than the conscious part that we're aware of. Somehow a part of our mind is able to know into the future what the tasker is going to tell us that the target is. Or alternatively, the part of our mind is going to go into the future to know what we know that the target is going to be. We don't know it yet in the present. We don't know it when we remote view, but we will know it after. There are remote viewers who say they don't even need to be given feedback. They can still go to a target as long as it exists somewhere out there and somebody knows or something knows what the target is. We don't even need to be told afterwards. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this works. And the thing is, it's done blind because you don't know anything except a blank screen or a blank paper with random numbers. You can't be making stuff up. You can't be just imagining. You can't just put down what you already know about the target. You start with nothing. The target could be anything. It can be a place, an object, a building, a person, an animal, an event, or something abstract or a question. The target can be any time in any place in time. It can be in the past, it can be in the present, it can be in the future. Some remote viewers think that there are many probable futures, that sometimes when we remote view the future, we get a different timeline after all. So the future is a bit iffy to remote view. But we travel in time and place, and we access information about it into our mind. There are different remote viewing methods. I use my own, which I created, which I actually had to remote view the name of my remote viewing method because I didn't know what to call it. I've gone through many names before, and eventually I decided I'm going to remote view what the name of my remote viewing method is. So I'm asking remote viewing what it calls itself. And it took me about a month. It was hard. It's hard to get specific names and things. Elements, empathic cognizance. I didn't even know what the word cognizance means when I got it. It means perception, awareness, recognition. Elements. When I first connect to a target number and a target signal, the first thing that comes to me when I look at the numbers, the random numbers, is colored shapes jump into my mind and I see them. It can be a black cube. It can be a yellow sphere. I call these elements, things. And empathic, because I'm empathic about them, I'm feeling what they're feeling. I use empathy to understand these elements. Empathy is the ability to be someone else, to feel what someone else feels, regardless of who you are or what you feel or what you think. You go into somebody else's perspective. I go into my elements and I feel what they are feeling. I know who they are, what they're doing, what they are. And then cognizance into my perception, elements, empathic cognizance, EEC. Since it is done blind, It can be considered credible, reliable, and real. However, there are many details to know. I will still mention. There are still many things to consider to keep the protocol strict. For instance, some remote viewers like to get a little clue ahead of time. They call it front loading. I don't do front loading. For instance, they want the tasker to say the target is a life form. I don't like this. That should not be done. It should be completely blind. Some remote viewers have a monitor who is guiding them through the session. Even if the monitor does not know what the target is, I don't like that. I think the remote viewer should do their own work. Sometimes the monitor does know the target and is the tasker, then this is a big no-no because they're going to give clues. The remote viewer will be able to sense and be guided towards the right answer. This is wrong. It should be done blind and by yourself. And lastly, sometimes when a remote viewer still manages to fail, the tasker gives them another chance, a retasking, a little clue to say, well, you had some good data. Why don't you focus on this piece of your report? I don't like this. It's like cheating. I don't do any retasking either. So, and then another thing that we need to also think about to keep the protocol tight and credible, some remote viewers will only publish their best sessions. And if they fail a session, you'll never see it or hear about it. This is also wrong. I publish everything. Every session I ever do, I give them the same platform so that I can show this is the whole body of my work. I fail about 10% of my sessions when I have a good tasker. So about 90% of my sessions are really, really spot on and good, I would say. So that's remote viewing, and that's how I stumbled into it. So I found out about remote viewing. I saw a guy doing it on YouTube, Naeem Malcolm, and I stopped the video immediately, and I thought, I've been doing these channelings where I'm trying to do this, but he doesn't even know what the target is. I want to try that. So I found some targets online where you only get the number on a website, and you don't know what the target is yet. And I just started figuring out how to do it myself and develop my method as I go along. I've been remote viewing since February 2018. I love it because the protocol is scientific and blind. So I know I'm not imagining. Even if I wanted to imagine and make stuff up, I couldn't. So I love remote viewing. It's become my life, and that's what it is and how I found it. And yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that very beautiful and detailed description. I really appreciate that. It's also my understanding that anybody can do this if they just train themselves. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can all be remote viewers, and I encourage everyone to try. Now, when you could just go to the internet and Google for remote viewing blind targets, and you will get web pages that have lists of random numbers. And you can just write the number on a paper or put it on your computer screen and just start putting down the impressions you get when you look at the numbers. Try to feel it. Try to be empathic. Try to feel, what kind of a character am I sensing from this? What sensations and shapes come to me? You can start like this without learning any method. Yeah. And then when you feel like you're finished, you can click to see what it was and see, oh, that reminds me of this, just to get a feel for it. And if you want to get really on a professional level, you can learn a method. The best method to learn, and the most popular, which is also the original method, which was first created when remote viewing was created, dates back all the way to the 1970s, when the United States military collaborated with physicists and with psychics, and they created remote viewing because they wanted to see if they could come up with a method of gathering intelligence, information from far away, using psychic means. However, they're not interested in entertainment value. They don't want some psychic reading that just makes you feel good and seems right. They wanted something genuinely accurate and true. That's how they come up with this scientific blind protocol. So if you're really interested in remote viewing, you can learn the controlled remote viewing method. It's the CRV method. That's what almost everybody uses. I use my own method, and most people use the CRV method. Everybody can learn. I've taught a little bit of my method to, I think, 3 people, and they were all able to do it really well from the start. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to say the same thing about the government using remote viewing, because I want people to really understand, like, this is a real thing. Like, this is something that everyone has the ability to do. Obviously, you have to kind of train yourself or learn, the right techniques, like you were just stating. But yes, the government used to use this all the time, and so it's not like this going into like a place where you're going to go see a psychic or something. This is like a tangible thing that there's scientific evidence behind that you can prove. For instance, like our session, I did exactly what you stated. I just gave you some numbers. That's all I gave you. I gave you a set of numbers. We had no other conversation outside of you explaining to me what you needed from me. And I thought about a target, and I just gave you some numbers. And then after some time, you gave me everything that you wrote down. You took a lot of time and effort into what you wrote. And so I want to get into that, because this was my first time actually working with a remote viewer, and outside of just doing my own research and just looking into it, I never actually dove deep into it with somebody. So it was exciting to see all the feedback that you gave me from the random set of numbers that I gave you. And at first reading it, you're not sure, but then when you really start digging into it, you're like, oh my God, like she hit on so many different things. Because looking back, I kind of gave you a little bit more of a broader topic than I initially thought. But what you focused on, like, I just realized you were hitting on so many different things. So, yeah, if you can talk about that process, about how all that went, and what your findings were, and then we can discuss that stuff in more detail.
Yeah, our target. So, how about would you like to tell us first what the target was that you chose?
Yes,
yeah?
Exactly.
Okay. And why you chose it? I'm curious why you chose this one and how you found out about this one.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting.
So sorry, I'm just going to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
You could have sent me. I told you that let's do a target together. I told you, like, where would you like to go if you could go to any time and place? So where do you want to send me to? I can go anywhere. So yeah, so please tell us what the target was, where you sent me to, and why you chose this one.
Yep. Okay, so I have personal interest in this. There was a video broadcast back in 1977 in England, and it was just a regular like news broadcast, and they were interrupted during the broadcast, and then there was a voice that started speaking, claiming to be someone from the Galactic Federation, and they were sending us a message. And I'll make sure to play that video for everybody to see as well. But when I first watched it, I kind of came across it just by accident. I always look at all these, I'm really into the UFOs and consciousness and all this stuff. I'm really into all this stuff, and it's just one of those things I just, through research, I kind of just stumbled upon some time ago. And I remember watching it, and I felt something. It just felt like very like true to me. It felt like it felt like a real communication that we were receiving. And what the interesting thing about this, what happened during this broadcast, they never found anybody. They never found anyone that hacked into the signal. Even to this day, it's been 50 years or so, and they still haven't, nobody's come forward saying that they were part of this. And then the more research I did of it, the amount of equipment somebody would have needed to have back in the 70s to be able to hack into a newscast for, I think it was like around 5 to 7 minutes or so. Not anybody would just have that lying around. And so it kind of is like, the more I dug into it, the more I realized like this might be an actual real event and a communication that we received. But it's also not a case, an event that is very much talked about, which is kind of fascinating to me, because I feel like we may have received an actual communication from an intelligence outside of us, and it's kind of dismissed a little bit. So I just, one that when I was thinking about what to send you, that one is just the one that popped into my head. And I'm like, I'm always very curious about this. I'd like to know more about it. I wanted to see what you would come up with. And of course, looking back at it, I feel like I could have focused that a little bit more to specifics. But what you sent me was incredible with everything that came back. And at first, it didn't make much sense, but then the more I looked at it, it actually made perfect sense. So yeah, I just had personal interest in the story, and I think it's a phenomenal message that was sent in the video. I'm assuming that you did end up watching it after I sent you the link.
Yes, yes.
What is
Yes,
your?
I watched it a couple of times.
Yeah, what was outside of? We'll get into the session that you had, but outside of that, what is your personal opinion of what you felt like happened?
Well, I have some science background. I studied some physics and chemistry at university. I was going to become a medical physicist. Medical physicists work, among others, in the hospital with all of these big gamma ray knives and medical imaging and laser treatments and such. So I have a bit of a scientific thinking. I also have some background in skepticism, or interest in skepticism, even though I'm interested in the new age and spirituality and psychic things. I'm also rooted in science and skepticism. So my very first question that I needed to investigate when I saw the feedback, the very first thing when I get the feedback from you, first you sent me print screens from this target video. So I look at the pictures and I read your short description of what the target was. And I just accepted and acknowledged it. This is my target. This is where I went, without thinking or changing any of the factuality of this is the target, right? My own opinions or feelings about the target need to stay out of it at the time when I receive my feedback. It needs to be objectively true. This is the target. This is where I went. That's all. And then also when I watched the video the first time, I'm just looking at it and thinking, this is where I was sent to. This is where I've been. That's all. No personal opinions, no thoughts like, oh, I like this. I don't like this. I don't believe this, or I do believe this. None of this. I'm trying to just absorb and take in this actual target as it is. However, after that, my first thought that I was curious of, maybe a day or two later, was to see, okay, so this television broadcast interruption recording dates back from the 70s. Maybe somebody on YouTube just found some old video clip and just inserted stuff into it. I wanted to know that it's a genuine video clip which happened the way it is composed, that not somebody just made something up. So going to Wikipedia, it is actually listed on Wikipedia, so I kind of trust that. So I'm satisfied that it was a genuine interruption that looked like this, that it had all of these other video clips and static on this news broadcast, and that the audio was genuinely happening as said in 1977. I'm fine with that. That it's not a hoax that was created for YouTube or such. So knowing or accepting that it to be a genuine clip of a genuine news broadcast interruption, I was also curious about seeing what more skeptically minded people might think. And Wikipedia explains that this broadcast was, let me just read it. Wikipedia says, at that time, the Hannington television transmitter was unusual in being one of the few main transmitters that rebroadcast an off-air signal received from another transmitter, so and so and so, rather than being fed directly by a landline. As a consequence, it was open to this kind of signal intrusion, as even a relatively low-powered transmission very close to the rebroadcast receiver could overwhelm its reception of the intended signal, resulting in the unauthorized transmission being amplified and rebroadcast across a far wider area. So this news broadcast was kind of a novelty in how it was being transmitted to the televisions. And it was susceptible to be intercepted. So this is also interesting, that maybe whoever did this, somebody obviously intercepted, it seems. So whoever did, maybe this was the first chance that they ever did have to intercept a television broadcast, because it was being broadcast in such a novel kind of way where interception was possible. Apart from all this, do I believe it's aliens? How do I feel? It's a beautiful message. I like listening to it, and I feel something. Like you said, I feel something in my heart when I hear it. The emotion of it feels very soothing and lovely. But I don't know if it's aliens. I can't say, but I do also feel something, same as you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all that information. I didn't know some of that. Yeah, it's also very interesting that out of all the, we're thinking about, I try to think about the time that we're in at that time. It was 1977.
Right.
Out of all the messages that were being broadcasted, that's what they chose to, let's just say if it was, a person or a group of people that decided to broadcast a message, that's the route that they wanted to go, to say that they were part of an alien species and they were trying to send us this message. So it was interesting if that was the case, that's what they chose to go with. They could have broadcasted anything. So I just find that always very interesting when I try to evaluate this case. So that's just, out of all the things they could have said, that's what they would have said.
Yeah, I also read on Wikipedia, because we can assume that the Wikipedia article is written by multiple people who have really researched this on a more skeptical and objective manner, putting aside their personal opinions or wishes or assumptions. So I read here, the speaker within this interruption claims to be a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, which presumably is some type of aliens or possibly non-human intelligence. And we read on Wikipedia, the name Ashtar and the idea of an Ashtar command had been associated with extraterrestrial communication since the 1950s, when UFO contactee George van Tassel claimed to have received a message from Ashtar, and others subsequently claimed to be able to channel the Ashtar command. So the Ashtar entity and the Galactic Command has been a concept in ufology since the 1950s, already for some 20 or 25 years before this news broadcast interruption happened, which was also claiming to be Ashtar and the Galactic Command. So that's something interesting to keep in the back of the mind. Yeah.
Okay, that is very interesting.
And also the theme of the interruption talking about put down your weapons, and you will basically warning humanity that you will destroy yourselves if you don't stop doing war. That's the message I got from it. I think this was a very 1970s kind of, I don't know if the Vietnam War was already going on. There were a lot of these hippie young people, and all the young people were very concerned about the future of humanity and about wars. And there was a huge peace and love and peace movement happening, especially in the Western world and United States and Europe at this exact time. I think in this 1977, I think was probably right at this time. So that's also something to think about.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is where you sent me to. You sent me to go remote view this interruption.
Yes.
Very
I did.
interesting target.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you thought so, because I felt like when I got your feedback, and I kind of want to start talking about that, you were a little unsure that you even hit the target. But I felt like you actually did a phenomenal job. So if you want to maybe start discussing that and talk about how that all came up. So I gave you the numbers, and you took the numbers and you did what you did. So
right. So you only gave me a random target number. Just take some notes here. So you only gave me a number, and it was 4718-5932. So what I do is, and you don't give me any clues, the target could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly, if I would have had to logically guess what you would have given me, I would have guessed, my mind would have guessed that you're giving me a target, something personal to you, because I told you if you could go anywhere in time and place, where would you go? So I'm thinking he probably wants to go to a relative or ask something about his love life, or, you know. So that's what I would have been guessing, personal relationships, if my mind was just starting to invent. However, I put all that aside and I just dive into the number. So I write that number on a blank, on my blank text page document and on a drawing page on the computer. And I just start collecting impressions. Are you able to screen share? Or do you want me to screen share?
Yeah,
I
you
have
can,
my drawings here.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you can screen share. I can.
So I could show my drawings.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah. Do you can you share on your end? I might have to approve you. Let's see.
Let's see.
If not, I can pull up the email and pull up the files if you have issues. I figured it'd probably be easier for you to do it, just so you can kind of go with how you're talking.
Yes. 4, 5,
Usually
6.
on Zoom is at the bottom where it says share.
Yes, I will find it. Just pull up my drawing here. All right. I always struggle to find it, though. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I may have it. I mean, on my end, I see it at the bottom. It says share, but I don't know if there's.
It's always the same thing. All the buttons are white except screen share is green, and I for some reason don't see it, and it's right there in green. All right.
That's funny.
So now I'm gonna mark what I'm sharing. I'm gonna share. Okay, there we are.
There we go.
Can you see my drawing right now?
I can see it. Perfect.
So this is what it looked like in my mind when I started. Well, not all at once, one at a time. I think the first thing I got was, so it starts very blurry in the beginning. I don't just look at a number and see everything in perfect visual clarity and instantly write down what it is. It starts blurry and strange, and I just have to keep poking at it. I don't know how much detail people want to hear. I could talk on and on, but let's just see. So these are the orange cup on the right side. That was I think it was my first element. And since it jumps out of the target number, I call these the initial elements. And elements are things, individual stuff. An orange color in the beginning always means, in my remote viewing, that it's an object or an item. And I immediately saw the brown fibers inside it, so I just draw what I see. And as I start poking at it, I use different touch probes and I use different visual probes. There are 2 types of probes. Imagine a big toolkit with wrenches and hammers and nails and things. So I have all these different tools with which I'm going to start probing these blurry colored shapes to get more stuff and info out of them. So I start with my touch probes. So I'm going to be tapping on it, flicking it, pushing it around, and so forth, putting my hands on it, and actually feel things. I just imagine, when I have this visual in front of me, I just imagine tapping it and actually feel something emanating as I do. It's my tap probe. And I flick it also. Flick is like a stronger tap. I feel like a wave emanating. And that wave, when I'm quiet and I'm just feeling it, it speaks to me. I feel what it means. And I write down words. And anybody can do this. It's easy. And I use many other probes. I push them around so I can feel the weight. I can feel how it's attached to things, texture, things like this. I just keep going. So this is what I have in the beginning. So oddly, I did have a lot of green leaves in the area, and it would stay that way. And this strange red thing on the left, which is kind of a bulb shape, hourglass shape, was a continuous thing. And we see bright lights shining on it. Anyway, this is what it looks like in the beginning. I could just read from my report. Can you see my text?
Yep, I can see.
All right, good. So this is my text report. I wrote 22 pages. If you learn if you learn the CRV method, the controlled remote view method, you will not write 22 pages. You will write maybe 2 or 3 with a few words on the side. They don't like to write. I love writing because everything that comes, I put it down so that I can step back. I'm just letting everything come out. And it actually serves a purpose, but I like writing. So here we have the initial element, the orange item. Did you see I highlighted it blue?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I put it here. It's an initial element, IE. And then I just put it through the initial touch probes. The T is for tap. F is for flick. P is for push probe. IP is initial probe, where I just put my hands on it and touch around initially in the beginning when it's blurry. And that's the information I get from it. Initially in the beginning, it's a bit weird, but it's going to be accurate. It's very accurate in the beginning as well. So we get a bunch of info. So every single element or thing, I just list it on its own, and keep going. So yeah, it's a lot of data. I often say this, but this was one of the weirdest and hardest targets I've ever had, which is not surprising considering that we're kind of inside of a broadcast. We're not really in a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I very quickly had object. However, the interesting thing is, so I never got a life form signal. If I have a life form, it's going to be a red colored blur. And I know that there's an animal or a human or maybe extraterrestrial. I did draw the bulb shape red because it's emanating a little bit of heat, but it's not a life form. So this target, I already know from the start that it's going to be an object. However, it ends up being a machine. However, it's not a technology. It's going to be really cool when I explain what we get. So this is my second drawing. So I still have a cup with some bright lights shining on it and some other details, a green box. This target is weird. Usually, because I end up getting a machine, which is creating pictures and also sound, normally that would be a technology, and I would start with a black box or a black cube, which tells me there's a technology. If I have a television, a radio, a cell phone, they're going to start out with a black color, and I know that it's a tech target. This is an item target. That's very confusing for me. I've been remote viewing for 8 years, never happened before. Also, this box is green initially. Green is my color for plants, but it's not a plant, and it's a green box. I was very confused from this target. I say this because this target is weird. So I also have a cogwheel, which I can describe later, and this bulb shape. This drawing has the most detail from everything I drew. So what we end up having we have a device. I think if we read the summary. So I did all this remote viewing.
Yeah, I read all of it. It's fast. It was very fascinating.
Yeah, so let's see. At the end, I write a summary. There's a lot. I don't know if I should read all of it, but it's very interesting. Maybe I'll read some of it.
Yeah, we can just read some of the more important parts that you felt.
Right. So after remote viewing 22 pages over maybe 2 days or something, I take a lot of time. Most normal remote viewers take like an hour for a session. I write 2 pages. I go deep. I dive in. I want to know everything. I want to see everything. So, summary. There is a device which most resembles a biological machine. It contains small components inside it which have automated responses. I'll just explain what this means. So, I end up having a machine. It's a machine because it has operations inside. It has components which are... I've studied physics and chemistry and some university courses, engineering a bit. This thing is weird. I'm overwhelmed. I would like to read everything. This is really cool. So
Okay,
we have
go
a
ahead.
machine. We have a machine. Its functions. Some of what I wrote in my report I found today. So this is from the main text. A sound recording emission device. It can play a tone box. It can emit a tone message. That is the purpose of this device. The purpose of this device is to play a sound that is emitted from it. And also further down, we have, it is a sound recorder device. It emits sound emissions. It was assembled by an engineer. So also here, it has kaleidoscopic properties. It can emit kaleidoscopic noise. Kaleidoscope is a thing that has many reflective mirrors that produce a colorful geometric pattern of visual colors. But here refers to a similar structure, but instead for sound emission composition. So we have a device whose purpose is to create a sound emission, to give off a sound composition. Now, if everyone knows what a kaleidoscope is, I had one as a toy as a child. Do you know what a kaleidoscope is?
Yes.
When I was a child, we had like this tube that you look inside,
Mm-hmm.
and you can twist it, and it has all these mirrors inside, and it creates these colorful landscapes that are very pretty and intricate with geometric patterns.
Yeah.
But here we had like a kaleidoscopic sound construction. This device was creating sound emissions, but also it was creating holographic images, visual images, which it was emitting from the bulb shape, a blue and white colored picture in 3 dimensions, which was rotating around itself, around the vertical axis, as it slowly rises. And the weird thing is, when I looked at it, it was me. It was creating an image of myself. I recognized it. So it starts by creating my head with blue and white lines, no colors to it. And this 3-dimensional hologram rises up until it has from head to toe and is above the device. So it's creating images and sound. That's what this machine does. But it's not a technology. As I wrote in my long report, it's not made of any metal parts. I don't know any technology like this which does not contain metal. It also does not operate on anything electric or electronic. It has no electric wires or cables. Very strange. I've done lots of technology targets. I never seen any machine like this. And this is why it did not register with a black initial color for technology. It was an item, even though it's a machine. So on the top of the machine, on the top, it has a bulb shape, kind of a head and neck shape. And inside the bulb is a large yellow crystal. with many surfaces on it. And this yellow crystal inside creates a kaleidoscopic light show of images. Very pretty to see. And from the top bulb, this hologram image rises up. Now, the interesting thing is, how is this device powered if it doesn't use electricity? Very strange. So it had 3 lamps shining directly above it. I've drawn some light above it. The photons are particles or pieces of light. The photons shine into the bulb, and the bulb has brown fibers that look kind of like this, like a rug of fibers, and those pick up the photons. I've gone into so much detail. I spent hours looking at this thing. So these fibers inside of the bulb, they are heat sensitive. They will lean towards a heat gradient. Where there is more heat, they lean towards it, but they're attached on the bottom to the object. They can wiggle around like fibers. So when there is heat, they will lean towards heat. So they pick up a photon, a light particle that shines into the bulb. And because the light itself kind of creates a heat effect, the fibers will lean, and this causes the fibers to somehow pass along the photon. I watched it. So that's the bulb. Now that's in the device. The top of the device is a bulb. Directly beneath the bulb, we have the urn-shaped object, which has more brown fibers inside it. And even further below and inside, I've drawn a box with some blue. It's a box because it is insulating the insides from light. The box keeps the light from coming inside. The things inside the box, which is inside the device, has to stay protected from light. Dark. It's dark inside. Inside the box on the bottom is a blue liquid. And this liquid, inside the bottom of the box, there are some switches that the liquid is pushing into. Now, as the liquid is heated, becomes warmer, some of the liquid evaporates inside the box and becomes a vapor or a gas. And that means that there is less liquid. So there's less pressure from the liquid on the switches, pressing on the switches. So the pressure is less, and this is a pressure gauge. And this is a thermometer. It's measuring the temperature. I think there were at least 2 different types of thermometers inside of our device, measuring temperatures. This was one of the designs. So this liquid is measuring temperature because as it gets hotter, some liquid evaporates, there's less liquid, less pressure on the buttons from the liquid, and it's therefore measuring the temperature. This is all familiar to me from thermodynamics. These are thermodynamics principles. So, and below the box with the liquid is a spinning cogwheel, horizontally set, spinning around very fast. I was confused, but that's what I've seen. And there's another thermometer as well. Inside the device are tiny salt crystals. As most people know, if you put salt into water and leave it on a table, eventually the water evaporates and you can see the crystals growing on the glass. There's salt inside the device, which is growing into little salt pillars. If it gets too cold, they will snap. The salt crystals have a magnetic resonance around them. Now, when it gets too cold, they snap. And therefore, there is less magnetic resonance. And the device can sense the magnetic resonance. So it's measuring the temperature. And as it gets warmer again, the crystals grow back. It's a thermometer using the growth, collapse, and regrowth of salt crystals inside of a compartment space inside the device. Everything in this device operates on thermodynamics, chemistry, and physics. It makes perfect sense what I saw. But there's things inside it which makes me call it a biological machine. Because of these fibers and things, they're microscopic. And they behave like things we have in the biological body, like these fibers. It's not just a machine, it's a biological machine. And what's more, it takes all of its energy to create images and sound. Its energy intake is not electricity. You don't plug it in the wall. You don't put a battery inside it. It's taking energy from its environment. Do we even have machines like this? In the 70s, it takes photons. It uses heat, light to power these mechanics. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it has structures which definitely should be called biological. It's like a machine that's using concepts from nature and biological organisms to collaborate with thermodynamic properties in order to power and operate all of this machinery, which creates sound and light, image emissions. I've never seen anything like it. It was very frustrating to remote view because I was not being able to make sense from the things that I knew before.
So when I was reading all of this and looking at your pictures, I initially thought, in some of your areas, that you were kind of stuck within the broadcast or the actual television, because some of the things that you were describing were, light projection, forming a picture, and all these things. But then, especially now as you're describing some of this, it almost feels like this is some sort of communication device or something like that, because you're saying it emits sound and shapes, or it can have a visual, but it almost seems like a living machine to some degree, like it's self-sustainable because you don't need to plug it in, but it's biological. But so it doesn't seem like anything that we would have, that we were aware of, that we would have as a technology. So my initial thought was this is some sort of like communication tool. I don't know if you would have interpreted that the same way.
I would have said, not knowing what the target is at the time, I would have said it's a device, a machine which creates images and sound, like a projector, a movie projector, because it's creating these big hologram images that are moving 3 dimensions. Did they have this in 1977? I don't even know if we probably have something like this today, but in 1977, unless I'm inside of a broadcast signal and seeing it this way, decoding a signal could be.
Yeah.
But this, I don't understand how it's so sophisticated because it's self-sustaining. It resets itself. Everything you do with a machine or even with a biological body needs energy. And when you use energy, it always has to be restarted, brought back. It doesn't cost, if I remember correctly from biology, if I contract my muscle, it doesn't cost energy. Maybe it does, but what really costs energy is to uncontract. That's when I use energy to reset. So everything we do with machines or bodies, you need some kind of energy to do something, but then you also need energy to bring it back again, to undo it so that you can do it again. This machine is self-sustaining, isolated in a sense, because there's no cables, no electrics, no batteries. It's using light without having photovoltaic cells. It doesn't have solar panels, but it's able to absorb photons and use them. And it uses heat and pressure, liquid pressure, pressing on switches. I was looking at this and saying, I don't understand how humans could build something like this, which almost operates like biology, like a biological machine. How can humans build this? And why would humans build this? We use metals and electricity, but there is none. So here's another attempt I did. Here I went back to the beginning and I said, this makes so little sense. I'm going back to the number. I wrote the number. Okay, let me try again. What am I getting from the number? Same thing. The item, the cogwheel on the bottom, the red bulb with the fibers, the light shining on it, the liquid inside, and some green leaves. This is my last drawing with the most visual clarity. So on the left, I have drawn the 3 lights. It's some kind of a possibly elementary particle with light glowing around it. It was feeding off of these photons to power the crystal and the image creation inside of the bulb. And I saw this object. Sometimes I saw it inside a room that reminded me of a laboratory or a big hangar building, very dark, kind of a scientific feeling room. And then sometimes I saw it lying down on the ground, almost like a discarded, thrown away object on the ground, on the sand with leaves around. Let me see if I can stop the. So that's
this,
what I.
Yeah. So okay. So this was my reaction to that. I was like, I felt like it was some sort of advanced thing that you were. It was either one of two things. I feel like you were, like you mentioned earlier, you were like kind of within the broadcast, and you kind of got tapped into like the broadcast part of it, or it is some sort of advanced tech. Now, some people would say, okay, this is just something that, where's the connection, right, between what I gave you, the broadcast, and the things that you wrote? But then there were things that you sent me that there's no way you could have. The chances of that is remarkable. Like I don't remember the exact words that you used, but there was parts in your writing where you mentioned there was like people that were like wavy looking. You mentioned a Sesame Street character.
Yeah.
And literally within the broadcast, and I sent you pictures, I took screenshots of the broadcast. There's literally, so I would have shown already the video, anybody that's seen it earlier in this podcast. And I'll show it again. I don't know if you can show it, I guess, if you have it available. But
Learn to listen to the voice of truth.
It's such a
Lead yourself. This is our message.
really appreciate that we kept together. I insist so delicious, full of only really choice ingredients. I can.
there was literally within the broadcast, they must have cut into to commercials while this interruption was still happening, and there was literally a puppet, like a Sesame Street puppet, for like a commercial. It looked literally just like a Sesame Street puppet. You literally wrote that in. So at first I initially thought, oh, you actually, I'm not sure if you wrote this down. You said something about cartoon. Did you say something?
I have it here. Let me read it.
Okay.
So I'm using my HP probe. It's one of my most powerful visual probes. So I write, the structure that has the urn and the bulb is standing in one position, but it wobbles side to side. It looks like, think of a Sesame Street puppet that has a hand or a person inside to make it come to life, to look a bit funny and friendly and to move a bit like a happy animal in a childish kind of way. That is the type of movement we see here. I was seeing this Sesame Street puppet doing this. I saw it many times. I saw the machine itself doing this. Mm-hmm. And then I had this image and sensation of Sesame Street. And it's literally inside of the interruption part.
Yeah. You can literally see it. And the interesting, the waving back and forth, the wobbling, it does that throughout the entire interruption. All the images that you see in the background, you can see the wobbling, the back and forth. I initially thought it was at the end of the interruption because there's I think a Looney Tunes cartoon that comes up, and I thought maybe that's where the Sesame Street puppet came in, but I didn't realize there was an actual puppet within that broadcast. So when I saw that was like, holy cow, she's definitely on the target. She's definitely where she's supposed to be. So then obviously that makes me feel, even more confident about the rest of the stuff that you drew out in this device, because there's no way you could have, out of everything that I could have gave you in the entire world, that is extremely specific.
Yeah.
And so the fact that, now it makes you like read all of these other things again, because you're just like, okay, wait, what is she actually like? She's actually on something that's tangible here. That's part of the target that I gave her. So
Yeah. I mean, from everything I've ever seen about technology, I don't know much about technology. I don't recall ever seeing a machine which is completely self-sustaining, almost like a perpetuum mobile device. Not really, but kind of. A device which you don't connect to the electrical grid and you don't have to do anything with it. It just keeps living off of light, photons, and thermodynamic systems where, for instance, the liquid evaporating and then cooling down again. Using this to power internal processes is amazing. But it was frustrating to me because why and how,
yeah. So after you gave me all of this and I gave you what the actual target was, and I gave you information on that target, what did you do after that? Did you just evaluate it again? What was your process after that?
Um, so when I get the target feedback, which is when you sent, first I sent to you my text and my drawings, then you sent to me a short text where you wrote down what the target is, and you sent me 2 screenshot pictures from the broadcast interruption. It's important at that stage that I accept that this is my target. I have to embrace it and accept it, because if I for any reason think, oh, I don't like this isn't what I thought, if I think this isn't what I thought I had, or oh, I don't like this target, I wish I could have done something cooler, if I think anything like that, then the risk is that my mind rejects it and then I missed it because I'm not allowing myself to have gone there. I have to accept it. I have to look at it. It's good to get a bit excited. That's when you have a good session, when you see the feedback and you're positive and happy and like, wow, this is so cool. I recognize it. Or wow, what a cool target. You kind of should try to be excited when you see it so that you internalize it and embrace it. So like I said before, you should try to be objective, not too much thinking, like how you feel about it or what you think about the target. Try to just accept what the tasker said, what the tasker wanted, and what the target in actuality is. It is a broadcast interruption. So I don't start thinking about aliens and ideas and speculations. You have to try to this is the target, and to take it for what it is. So I just look at the pictures, read the tasking, and focus on it a bit, like, okay, this is what it was. And then I try to back off from it for a while. And only like 1 or 2 days after did I start investigating, being a bit skeptical, looking on Wikipedia, things like this later, so that it doesn't come into my target signal. So it's pretty basic like that.
Okay. Did you reevaluate it? Did you ever like tap back into a target after the fact, after you found out what it is, to see if you could learn something else? I know that's on the scientific side. Now it feels like, okay, I have this information, but you personally know how you're conducting your sessions. So do you feel like you learn more now that you know what the target is, and do you try to tap back into that?
So I was tempted. I wanted to dive back in now that I knew what it is. I could just connect with the signal again, especially after so many hours. I know the feeling and the look and vibe of it. I could just go back and look at more things. I can go there anytime I want, but I decided not to, because I have to be honest and say I cannot trust my mind anymore, because the logical part of the conscious part now knows, And I cannot say that my mind would not start imagining things at this stage when I know what the target is. It's the wrong thing to do. Out of personal curiosity, I can go there to revisit and hang out, go back to 1977 and just poke at this thing, press the buttons. And it had buttons, by the way, and things. I can go there if I want to, but I would not write it down or include it in any report officially. But I did not revisit. I did not go back. I decided I leave it as it is. It was a weird biological machine that creates pictures and sound, self-autonomous, uses thermodynamic properties. I leave it as it is.
Yeah.
As for how did I feel? What did my belief become as I saw it? I was happy to see the feedback because I did recognize it. I said I thought, yeah, I believe I went there. I think this is right. I didn't fail. I didn't feel like I've missed my target. How I feel confused. I feel like this device was so confusing. I love technology targets. I love looking at cables and circuits and voltages and metals and machines. They're among my favorites. But this was not that kind of a machine. I'm frustrated. This target was frustrating to me. I was angry at it because biological machine that makes pictures, and I mean, so weird, so freaky, bizarre. What is this? I have like a hate-love thing for this target, this device that I spent so many hours looking at, poking at, flicking, pushing around, going into these tiny fibers. What do I think it is and so forth? I don't really try to extrapolate. I don't try to form a conclusion. I was there. I visited the device. I got to know the device for what it is. My method is elements empathic cognizance. I was empathic. I put myself aside. This is all about the machine. The machine is the star. I'm not even there. I don't care what I think about it. Even objects have a personality, a character, characteristics, functions, emotions, feelings, vibes. I got to know it for who it is, what it does. And that's all I need. That's enough for me, I don't try to build something more out of it with my mind, with who I am. And that's how you become a good remote viewer, I would say. Don't try to don't try to be you over there. Don't try for you to think about it. Let it be who it is and accept it, even if you don't know everything about it. You had the privilege to visit something or somebody, a machine, and to witness it from its own life, from its own existence, and leave it at that.
Yeah, well, very well said. I do want to mention also that there were a few things that you mentioned within your feedback. You kept mentioning things like chaotic and even at the beginning of the I literally was listening even to the beginning of the broadcast before they even cut into it. Like they were talking about like war but the whole broadcast is very chaotic. Like everything that's happening, like all the so a lot of the small detailed descriptions that you had in there, I felt like made sense within what was happening. I thought that was that's just really important to mention as well. It's just, I feel like, so for someone like myself that gave you a target, could I have focused more on a specific thing within the event, and then that would have helped you kind of target more? Because I just gave you the broadcast. I think if I would have maybe either focused on the voice or focused on the actual interruption or just a specific detail about that event, would that have shifted your perspective to something else?
Yes. Here's how you wrote the target description or the target feedback when you sent me, after I sent you my text and drawings, you gave me the feedback and you wrote them to me or sent to me this. A television broadcast interruption during a live program in 1977 in which an unknown voice of a being from the Galactic Federation overtook the signal transmission for several minutes. Now, there are many different ways to write. This is like the tasking. I'm trying to learn tasking from remote viewer Daz Smith. He makes the best target signals out of anyone I've ever known. He knows how to write and compose targets for remote viewers that creates a very clear, concise, focused, and strong signal. His signals are amazing to feel and dive into. So the way he kind of does it, I don't really fully know how he's the expert. It's kind of like a what, where, and when. What do you want to know as a tasker? Where is it? And when is it? So you could have just said, investigate the origin of the news broadcast interruption. That would be what? Where? I don't know. It's happened in England somewhere, or however you would write that. And then when? November 26th, I think it was, 1977. What, where, when? Very as focused as you can. And yes, it would let me see things more focused and less broad. But I mean, I seem to have gone to a machine which creates images, creates sound.
Yeah.
And so I went to the origin of that.
Yeah.
I definitely did not go to the news broadcaster. I never saw the man. I did not go to the message itself. I did not talk about the wars and Ashtar or Galactic Command, or what it is. I'm focusing on the device and how it operates, how it creates the signals. I leave it at this, that is it an alien technology? I don't know. I'm puzzled, frustrated that it was like a biological self-sustaining machine that operates on thermodynamics and resets itself. If Ashtar Command exists, do they have these machines?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It obviously now brings up more questions, but it makes it even more interesting, I think. I appreciate all the time that you put into all this. I can sense the frustration that you had when I was reading, because at the end, I can just tell that you were really frustrated. But I think maybe I look at it also that I gave you a little bit of a challenge as well. But I also learned something through this process. If maybe we can do another session again at some point in the future.
I would love to. Yes.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and now I know to focus more on maybe specific details that kind of get a different outcome. But I think it was fantastic. I thought, I mean, as frustrating as it was for you, I think what you got was really great, and maybe even some more clues to what's going on there. And if you also have a YouTube channel, people can see like some of your sessions.
Yeah, my YouTube is called Elements Empathic Cognizance, and I don't know, I can barely spell it. Maybe you can put a link in the video.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make sure to put a link.
So I put I put a few of my actual remote viewing sessions where I recorded myself doing a remote viewing. But lately I focus on trying to make almost like movies out of what I've seen. I'm currently working on a session video where I'm using AI to create almost like a movie production where I'm inside the target site and just showing you all the stuff I'm witnessing and when I'm talking to people at the target. So it's a lot of work, but I love it.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
What did you learn? Like, what did you, after seeing my report?
I learned, I learned that well, obviously the process and how you go through it and how you write everything in. But I also see it. It's interesting because I kind of get a picture of your mind, right? Because you're putting things down on paper that you're seeing, and that's not always the easiest things to get people to see. So like when I was reading it, I felt like I got a really clear visual of what it is that you were kind of seeing. But it was also just as confusing for me reading it because I was like, this is not what obviously I had no idea where this was going to go. And this was my first time, working with a remote viewer. But I don't know, just learning the entire process, you kind of were, you know, I was learning things throughout the along the way, like what I should be doing, what I should be sending you. You were kind of giving me instructions along the way. So just the entire process, and even this along this video, just learning things. I think the entire thing was just a learning experience for me, and I thought it was great and makes me more excited about remote viewing and the potential it has. I know there's people that I follow on YouTube as well, and it's amazing. But I feel what I think that you're doing, which is amazing that other people aren't. I think a lot of people, especially remote viewers, focus on a lot of negative things. They focus on a lot of like fear-based things. I feel like there's always, I know maybe that's where a lot of the energy is, but they seem to focus on like, wars and things like that. But I feel like you're kind of going outside of that a little bit. You're kind of like, tap, like you said, and you also have a very good way of not letting your own biases get in the way. And I think for people that look into remote viewing, they'll probably find people that, they'll say oh, well, I think it's this. I think it could be this. Or they try to put their own interpretation on it. You don't do that. And you're just giving the data, which is coming from a very scientific standpoint. But you're also very open to whatever it is that the target is. And I think that's really great. So I don't know. I think the entire process was a learning experience for me. And there's not really one specific thing that I would say that was bigger than something else. But the entire experience has been great, and I really can't wait to do this again with you sometime because this was a lot of fun.
I would love to do another. In remote viewing, we're supposed to describe, and the other remote viewing methods and remote viewers, they also teach, don't try to say what it is. Don't try to guess the name of it. Just describe what you had. Describe the shapes, the sensations. Don't try to put a name on it. Mm-hmm. So we try not to. Yeah, we're not supposed to guess. Yeah. Because we cannot guess. There's so many options it could be. Because usually if we start guessing, it's going to remind us of something, and then we go off a tangent and we miss entirely and start making stuff up. So, yeah.
Well, I want to mention that too, because you actually had emailed me, I think you were like halfway through it, and you said you need to kind of step away from it for a little bit because you were kind of, you had other things that came into your mind. Yes. You had focus on other things, and you felt like you weren't really on target anymore. So you kind of took that moment to recognize that and realizing, okay, wait a minute, I've kind of lost my way within this, and you kind of reset yourself and started over as well.
Yes, I had a displacement. So you sent me the target number a long time ago, and I started working on it. And I was having impressions of like a Colosseum, but it wasn't the ancient Romans, it was Greek. And I have very vivid visuals and experiences of theatrical performances. I heard the drum beats. I saw this woman in a golden dress doing like this, the flower petals thrown, like so much detail. But then when I went to work, like when I'm doing a session, when I start a session, I'm susceptible to what's called a displacement. So when I start remote viewing, and before I get my target reveal from the tasker, this time period in between is very dangerous for me, because if I see a video or a picture which is really exciting to me, my remote viewing is at risk of jumping to that picture rather than going even further in time to the intended target. So I can fail the target. I can fail a session because, whoops, I went into a video instead. After I start a session, I like to have my target feedback as quickly as possible to make this time gap as small as possible, because everything I see in the time gap, start session and target feedback, is at risk of making me jump here instead of to the target, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad habit. Other remote viewers don't have this problem, but I do. So I went to work, and I'm trying to not look at videos because I don't have my feedback yet, but I started the session. I'm trying not to look at any YouTube or any pictures so that I don't jump into something else. So I'm looking through magazines at work because I have to. And there's a picture of a travel magazine, and I see this Colosseum looking thing, and I'm like, I went there.
Yeah.
So I had a displacement to that place because I saw that picture. That was exciting. So then I wrote to you and said, I'm sorry, I had a displacement. I know I did not go to your target. Can you please send me a new number and I can try again? It's not that I failed. In terms of you and me and our target, I didn't fail anything. I just asked you to send me a new random number.
Yeah.
Nothing happened between us, right?
Yeah.
So I tried once to reach your target, but I landed in the Colosseum looking thing. But since no harm done, because you never told me what the target is, I never told you I went to this amphitheater on Sicily. So you just send me a new number and I try again. So everything was okay. It's still a solid protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Good. The other thing is, if I would have sent to you my Colosseum looking data, and then you send me the broadcast data, I would have said, oh, I failed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had a cool experience there, and I'm making a cool video. I had a great time I went back in time to like 2,600 years ago to Sicily. Wow. There's an amphitheater was there. I was looking at all the performances and talking to the man there, and all the smells and sounds, and wow. So anyway, that's just a side note called displacement. But
cool. That's pretty awesome. Do you do you like all your notes and stuff? Do you make that available for anybody, or you kind of just talk about that in your videos?
I'm trying to catch up. I am actually publishing as far as I know, I'm the only person in the world probably doing this, publishing every single session I ever did from start to finish, every text, every drawing, everything. Eventually, but I'm doing it chronologically, so I'm really late. I'm still working on 2019 sessions.
Yeah.
Uploading on my website. So my oldest sessions are on my website, which you can find through my YouTube. This session also, I mean, yeah, it's also going to be on my website. A lot of remote viewers, they only publish their best work, and they try to look better than they are. That's wrong. I disagree with that. It's dishonest. I make a point out of putting everything out there so you can really see how good I am. If I have a bad session, I'm not ashamed. I will publish it the same way. So
well, that's good. That's good. That's the best way to do it, because you're only getting better from that, and it also shows your transparency and like how honest you are being about what you're doing, which I think will make people trust you even more. I think if you're interested, maybe we can do this once a month or something like that.
I was going to suggest that. I would love to.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is.
I would love it.
It's really interesting. Yeah, we should definitely keep in touch and definitely do this once a month. I'll keep digging and giving you more challenging things.
More challenging.
Yeah.
More challenging than a biological self-sustainment.
Well, I'll be more specific in the future. I think I'll be better about my targets, about being very more specific and honed in about what I'm sending you.
No, I don't think the problem here was that it wasn't specific. The problem was this device.
Yeah.
The device. Who built this thing? Who built stuff like that?
Well, to me, I can be, I'm not a remote viewer, so I can be a little bit more open about my opinions, but to me, it sounds like a foreign technology of some sort. Whether it's terrestrial, extraterrestrial, I'm not sure, because I believe there's aliens on the planet too. So, but regardless, you described something that was not something that humans, as far as we know, have a technological device like that. So, I think it's from a foreign intelligence, and but that's my opinion. But I'll say my opinion, because I'm not taking the scientific route. I just took what you gave me, and I'm forming my own opinion about it. But it makes me feel like this broadcast is even more interesting now, because there might be some sort of foreign technology that was involved in this part of this broadcast.
You know how you could have tasked this one to really get to the root of the question we all want to answer? I mean, the main question obviously would probably not have been describe the device that created the broadcast interruption, because that seems to be where I went.
Yeah.
Or that also went to the hologram and the sound and the pictures, which is the broadcast interruption itself.
Yeah.
The question could have been, who created this broadcast interruption, or who is speaking, or we could even have done who or what is is Ashtar.
Yeah.
Then if I describe a human who's inventing some figure, or if I describe an alien being, one time I connected to what must have been an alien. I've been given lots of alien targets to investigate various claims of an extraterrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have been fraudulent. I've done the Mothman. I never found the Mothman. I don't believe it exists. But there was one alien. One tasker sent me to the Zeta Reticuli stars to look for planets and to look if there's life there. And I connected with an alien, and we're talking to each other in the session. That was a cool session.
Wow. Yeah.
I've done it one time. I had alien, I think.
Oh, wow. Didn't you speak to something during your session as well?
Yes, I spoke to the whatever, but you can I can show you when I'm speaking. Should I show it quick?
Yeah, you can show it real quick.
Yeah, but I think it is possible to speak to objects as well in a session, because they have some type of a character as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find it here. I
feel like it was towards the top somewhere, if I can remember.
Towards the end. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
So, because a part of me was wondering, is this a life form? Because it has what looks like biological microscopic tissues and biological processes in the body with tiny little components. It was like looking at biology almost, with the fibers. So I was thinking, is it a life form or is it not? Because I never saw legs, I never saw arms, I never saw eyes or mouth, but aspects that were biological seeming. So I start trying to talk to it at the end, and I'm very frustrated when I'm doing this target. So I just say, are you a life form or a machine? Can you talk? See, this happens if you get a biological machine, you might get frustrated. Are you a machine or are you a life form? So I'm trying to talk to it. And the answer I pick up is, I need liquid inside me to work. That's the blue liquid inside of the box, which creates the pressure from liquid pressure. Then I ask, do you have eyes to see with? It says no, but I need my liquid inside me. I said, do you have to drink liquid? It says no, but I can dry up. And I say, what else do you need? And it says, do not worry about that. I say, where do you come from? It says, do not be rude to me about that. I was thinking it was rude to say that, because I do not like where I have come from. I like sitting here better. And then it says, I do not like to talk about it. It doesn't mean that it's a life form. It's possible to talk to objects as well and kind of connect to their vibe. And so that doesn't mean it was a life form. And it was also saying it doesn't have eyes, and it never said it was a life form.
Yeah, well, it's so also interesting, and just makes me even more curious about it. But thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank
everything.
you. Had a nice frustrating session of
Yeah.
not knowing what the heck am I looking at.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future I'll give you something a little bit less frustrating, but I will come up with some really good things for you to remote view. So we'll definitely keep in touch. I'm excited. This was one of the more exciting podcasts that I've done. I've always wanted to kind of get involved with remote viewers, and I'm excited that you'd like to do more sessions. And so we'll definitely keep in touch. And yeah, maybe let's shoot for once a month or so. Maybe
Yes,
we can
perfect.
get together. That would be great.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and all the effort that you put into this.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.